What is it to be a man these days? Because it's quite confusing in terms, even the conversation around like chivalry and understanding, you know.
Well, people talk about toxic masculinity and easy fix. Be a gentleman, be a mensch. That's it. This is done. Be a gentleman, be a mensch. A gentleman is never rude by accident. It's Christopher Hitchens' line. Great. I don't know. I mean, my thing about young men today, if I was going to give young men advice, it would be get the right drugs and the real thing, right? In real life. Live in real life, right? So why young men are obsessed by video games, right? Obsessed. They're spending hours and hours and hours online playing video games. Why? Well, that's a proxy for career. Right, video games. You think about the levels of video games and what people do on video games. That's a proxy. That's like it's a substitute for the career that they're not having. And then they spend a lot of time, fapping to Pornhub or YouPorn or whatever. And that's a proxy for sex. And my thing would be, George Orwell wasn't right. Our power won't be taken away from us by some authoritarian master. We're going to give it away for cheap dopamine. And the cheap dopamine of video games and online porn and living online is getting in the way of real life. So it's risk, right? That's what we're not allowing young people to do, because we're saying to young people, you can't take risks in real life. We're helicopter parenting. We're not giving them the freedom. How much freedom should you give a kid? As much as they can cope with, right? 14-year-olds used to be babysitters. They now need babysitters. That's not good, right? So you should allow them more freedom in the real world, because otherwise, the only place they get freedom is online. And no freedom in the real world. You're not allowed to go to the park and hang out, but you're allowed to do whatever you want online. Well, that feels like a very bad social experiment. That feels like a bad idea. Yeah, it feels like we've inverted, Maslow, this pyramid, the hierarchy of needs, and you go, well, food and shelter and warmth and we've got all the bottom stuff worked out in our society, right? We kind of can't see it. We're not grateful for that because we can't see
The hot shower.
We can't see the third world, and we can't see the people in the past having a tougher time than us. So we take it for granted. But we've worked out that stuff. They hadn't worked that stuff out 200 years ago. But they had the top of the pyramid sorted. Everyone knew who they were. They had their identity. And they knew what their purpose was. Everyone knew who they were, what they were about, and they were connected to the others in the group. And now we're kind of free-floating individuals. We kind of worship the individual as if we can survive as individuals. I always think of that thing of like, there's no such thing as a baby. There's a baby and a mother. There's a baby and a father, baby and an auntie, but there's no such thing as a baby, because a baby on its own isn't anything. It's dead. It needs taken care of. We're all still babies. We all need the connections. Yourself, yeah, sure, there's a lot of yourself that's within you, but a lot of it is out in the world. It's connected to other people, and it mediates who you think you are. And that's slightly missing from society, where you kind of live online and you're kind of a self-authored thing. You're just on the computer, on the screen, and you're not connected and you're not taking risks. Taking risks is really important.
Is this in part due to the rise in atheism and agnosticism? I think we both, me and you, lost our sort of religious faith around the same age. I think sort of early...
Mid-20s. I think it's a weird thing where you can lose your... I certainly don't believe in the stories. There's two types of fools, right? There's people that take religion literally, and there's people that think it has no value. Okay? Both idiots for different reasons. Like, it works as a thing, religion. I miss it, because the reason the ceremony works isn't because God's pleased, it's because the people came together. And so I think we look for things that are proxies for religion. And sometimes that's football. It could be environmentalism, because you go, well, I need something, I need purpose in my life. I need to feel like I'm adding value. And what a great cause. I'm going to save the planet. It's a big thing to think about. It's got a religiosity to it. But I don't think that's necessarily the answer. Some people do it with politics. They think politics is going to be heaven. They're going to come up with some perfect system. I think you're putting too much pressure on politics.
First time I've ever said this, actually, but when you just said, I think I miss religion, I think I miss religion.
It's nice, wasn't it? It's a lovely thought as well when you lose someone that you love very much. It's a lovely thought. I mean, heaven is it's a lovely thought. And I think in a way, in our culture, fame and fortune has replaced heaven. It's the land of milk and honey and where you can feel like everything's okay. Everything's taken care of. And it is good. But it's not heaven. I don't believe in an afterlife. I believe in a next life. So I don't think anything happens after you die, but I think you can have a next life. You have a very different life. So it's interesting you're at this point of your life when you're thinking about, well, we might start a family. It's a whole other life. It's a whole other, you'll hardly recognize yourself. You and your partner will be saying, what did we do? What did we do all day? Now we're not at Peppa Pig World or wherever you find yourselves.